That's the sweet sounding tunes of Andre de Lang, and we are live. We are coming live. When I say we are live, it is Learning Academy Worldwide's broadcast all the way from Stockholm in Sweden. And you cannot see us right now, but I'm going to bring up my good friend Sven Isaksson, who shares this moment with me every single week, every Wednesday, 7 p.m. Central European Time, which now is also the same as it is in South Africa. It's also 7 p.m. there, so that's good news. Sven,
Yep.
it's good to be back.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. The weather in Sweden is a lot better.
Yeah, it's a beautiful day right out here.
Yeah.
It's spring feeling, and there's on the subject today too. There's a lot of students running around with
with their caps
graduation
on.
hats.
Yes.
Yes, it's a fitting subject. Yeah.
Yes, it's true. The subject that Sven is hinting at is one that is connected to what happens in our learning environments, our schools. We'll come back to that in just a few seconds.
Yes, you are. You are the one. Listen up. I found what I'm looking for. No, 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 no way. Get me without. Yes, you are the one. Hey, hey. I can't imagine being lost.
So, yeah, the subject for this evening is we try to promote during this particular broadcast every single Wednesday evening. We're, of course, promoting the Vocational Training and Agriculture Project in South Africa. And that project aims to elevate the knowledge and skills of young people in mainly rural settings in order to give them a new lease on life, help them to understand that the farming or the idea of agriculture that they have is probably too influenced by just them seeing their own little world. And so, what we are trying to do is expand that world by introducing opportunities to learn, opportunities to demonstrate your knowledge, opportunities to grow stuff. And the thing I like about studies in agriculture is, whatever you learn, if you apply it, either the stuff dies or
Yeah.
it grows. So there's immediate
sure.
sort of feedback. And what we've always done is we have invited guests to join us. One of our favorite guests is Terry Martin. He joins us all the time, most of the time, rather because it is a beauty competition between him and I. We've we've had a beauty competition for 45 years. But today we're also joined by a very good friend of ours who we've had the honor to work with on many, many occasions. And I've got both of you on the screen now. Terry Martin, thank you very much for joining us. And thank you so very much, Tapelo Pizzo from the City of Roses in Bloemfontein. Welcome.
Mm.
Now,
Good to be here.
yeah, thank you so very, very much. I know, Terry, we joke quite a lot, but I really appreciate the fact that we are able to continue this legacy of providing a platform for people to talk.
Yeah.
I mean, I know a lot of folks say, stop talking, just do the work. But we think talking is also doing. Good talking.
Yeah.
I mean, I can talk a lot of nonsense and it goes nowhere. But both of us have always been careful about the word choice for certain things because what we describe, what words we use to describe a phenomenon often spills over in the nature of the realization of that phenomenon. And so if you think a teacher is a teacher, you visualize one image. If you say the teacher is a coach, that introduces something different. And Terry, we wanted to sort of talk to Tapelo about a project that he's busy with that is intended to strengthen both teachers and students in the Free State province with a better understanding of what needs to happen in the classroom as it relates to the teaching of mathematics. So, Tapelo, let me just go straight to you. What are some of the needs that you have seen over the years that have pointed to a real effort that's needed where you say we need to solve this particular problem or we need to address this need? What are some of the basic needs that you have seen amongst our teachers and young people in classes? Now, I can't hear you for some reason.
Oh, sorry, I
No
was
problem.
muted.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm. Look, because of there is something called annual teaching plan that needs to be followed and completed on particular time of duration. Ideally, it would work, but the reality of the matter is due to the content knowledge gap from low classes, it's a bit difficult to can do just within that period. So we'll find us teachers will be rushing. They complete the curriculum, or they call it curriculum coverage, but curriculum coverage is what you taught or what learners are supposed to learn. And unfortunately, we are not able to address such issues. In other words, it's just procedural kind of, like recipe, making a cake. You don't really have an understanding. For example, if you have to make in real life a banana bread, one loaf, you need so many bananas, so many sugars, and so on. What about thousands of them? That kind of thing now. Real life kind of. Uh, that's what we're missing. And again, we missed an opportunity of learners learning by doing things themselves. Ultimately, what happens, we teach learners concepts. For example, a topic like financial mathematics was introduced in South Africa. but people are still struggling financially. In other words, there's no meaning in learning. There's no, you're still in trouble. You just say, this formula, I'm using it for compound interest, this one for simple interest. It's not telling you how to deal and treat things in real life. That's what we are missing. And ultimately, we also say, guys, it's high time now, instead of thinking of being an employee, you should employ people. But now, it's only done theoretically in schools. For example, I gave earlier on Theo, an example of technical schools where they do woodwork at school.
Yes.
But you get to the school, the cupboards are broken. The kids do paving. If they do paving, why can't they do it in the afternoons, during the holidays, weekends? Go and do paving, do some service of some sort, maybe also make money out of that. And then that's where we'll find out ultimately I come up out of university, I've got a degree, the government can employ me. Whereas when you were given that opportunity within your studies, so that the theory, whatever you're learning, you're also interacting, trying to apply. If the knowledge cannot realize into action something, it's not really useful.
Well, this is profound. I've not, I really, we've always said make things practical, Sven, but this is very, very insightful, I
Yeah,
think.
very much so.
So,
Yeah.
Tapelo is insisting that we need to, just in this particular subject area, what is the possibility for the young person in acquiring an improved set of mathematical skills if the problems in their real world become the subject of their studies? That's That's fascinating. Now, we were talking earlier about this because um, we are not happy with a low standard. Even Tapelo, you will probably, you'll probably think we are joking, but you know, the European problem in terms of maths is is a big problem. All the STEM subjects, not
Mm,
not
mm,
ju-
mm.
not just it's not just in the so-called developing world, but there's a there's a big indicator that a huge number of young people are choosing away the hard subjects, so to speak, in order
Yes, yes.
to just get through things. But what is your sense there, Sven? Tapelo's touching on an important aspect here.
Yeah, and I think it like it goes in trends too. Like we have this massive technological movement. Like we
Yeah.
were talking before, our experiences from our school days or whatever, but so much is happening throughout what is now and what is been in the past, and these blocks of subjects, your language or your mathematics and whatever, that's the same. So now it's more, how do you teach or motivate people to go through these traditional way of subjects
Mm.
where in real life they're actually hacks. There's telephones and this and that, so the
Yeah.
attention span of the students, like,
Mm,
hey, why is
mm.
this relevant for me? I really don't need it. They are fast in finding the gap.
Mm.
We have a telephone, or we have this and that, and it's more fun to be over here.
Yeah.
So then the school is like, whoa, maybe they are lowering the standards, or the teachers themselves
Mm.
Mm.
have a maybe are downgrading themselves for passing grades. And we just talked about what is a passable grade. If you talk A to F or
Yeah.
1 to 5, suddenly E is acceptance. And I'm like, or a 1 or a 2. And it's like, whoa, in my, no, E is never good, but in real school here, that's passable. So how do you motivate or whatever for for the kid is maybe just, okay, I just want to pass and move on.
Yes,
And
that's
what
right.
we were talking today before, this is so an amazing subject. It's like, what's the motivation? Okay, your final year, you got to be ready and have these grades so you can go to
To
what
your
school you want to go.
Yeah.
In the meantime,
Mm.
you have to go to school and learn.
Mm.
And why do
Mm.
you need this grade? Or in mathematics, you get that stress, or, oh my God, is it for your parents? Who do you have to be good to? Who do you have to be perfect? So people are already scared of failing. So we don't even want to learn. We just want to have, I am accepted.
Yeah.
So, and that was like we said today, Theo, is like, hey, why not just enjoy school? Make as many mistakes as you can, but the final year, it's like in basketball for the playoffs, then it's all in, and we're going to pass so I can go
Mm.
to the next school. But in the meantime, you got to make all the mistakes. But I think nowadays, like we talked before, they don't even, why should I even do this? They don't even know how to apply mathematics in real life,
Yeah.
one and one or two,
Mm.
or dividing. So that's the big
Yeah.
challenge, because
Mm.
You're
Yep.
you're
Yep.
touching a nerve there, Tapelo.
yeah,
Terry, is it your sense as well? Because I've never really thought of it. Just the way he's illustrated there is to talk about two specific things. If the kids are understanding or learning some practicality, just in terms of brick paving or whether it is welding or cabinet making, why can't they use that knowledge? Is it so? Why can't they use that knowledge to solve real problems on the school premises itself? Is that concern that Tapelo have is the ability to overcome that? Could that become a lever or a wedge for us to to make mathematics, particularly the study, a lot more significant in these young people's lives?
Well, I think, over the decades, Tapelo, that Theo and I have been busy, we've always hammered away at what are the needs in the community all about? And to match the kind of skill sets that kids are given, match it with what the needs in the community are. Now, when you look at your average ATP, that ATP is so distant from the reality on the ground. and you know what we're talking about here. I mean, one of the things I do not miss is the distance between ATP and reality. I don't miss that.
Mm.
And so you're putting your finger right on a nerve that has been the challenge across what we commonly call education. Let's just call it schooling because it's more the school model that does that. Uh, and so I guess the question that comes up into my mind, Theo, would uh, Tapelo, what are some of your thoughts in terms of closing that gap and bringing those two things together? Uh, Theo and I have always been renegades for this because we've always gone into situations. Let's give you the example that we had with the Iskatamia dancers
Mm.
in KZN. These were boys who all were out of school, Tapelo, but couldn't go back to school because they were dancers, right? Traditional dancers, and they were earning money basically doing that. But you couldn't put them back into the benches
Mm.
and slap an ATP on them.
Mm.
So we came up with quite a revolutionary idea. We will train you for 1 year.
Mm.
And at the end of the year, we'll take you overseas as a sort of crowning event in terms of what you've been doing. And so we took them into the trenches of their community. We didn't take them back to school. We took them back to a different, can I say, model of school, if for want of a better word, because people like this word school. I just don't like it. um, but we brought those two things very close. The practical and the theoretical, we brought it together like this. And at the end of the year, we delivered on what we had promised.
Yeah.
So, with using that example that we've been involved with, I would like to hear from you. What are some of your thoughts on that? Have you done any thinking outside of the box? You know, because it's very difficult to think outside of that ATP box, right? What are some of your thoughts on bringing those two worlds closer to each other? Because our kids are matriculating, our kids are graduating, and every other 18, I mean, they're earning degrees. We're dying by degrees in our culture, but there are no skill sets, or very little of it is in their hands. To be able even to put food on the table, Tapelo. I mean, you know what we're talking about now, right?
Yeah.
So I guess my driving question is, are there any thoughts running around in your head in terms of how you close that gap while still working in what we would call a traditional school scenario?
Look, for example, in my workspace, I work with grade 8 and 9 teachers. So ATP is not so firm, especially with the teachers that I work with, right? Again, it's somehow I've realized the teachers have forgotten how to teach. I'll give an example. I went to a school where the teachers got 10 learners. I said,
Ten,
sir, how are you? How are the learners
so 10
performing?
learners in a class.
Yeah, it's an independent school, that those kind of small schools, but not really. Yeah, it's a few learners, expensive and so on. But it's 10 learners in class. It's very fortunate when we are dealing with 17 in a class in our situation. And I said, how are they performing?
Mm.
He told me, "Sir, we will see at the end of March when they write exams. You are supposed to see it during the period.
Mm.
You are teaching a particular concept, dealing with it, try and find out what kids understand. If they don't understand, how do you approach it differently? I've just given an example earlier on here of Terry of 2 divided by 4 is equals to half. Yeah, it's quick, it's a half. But what does it really mean? It means when you have got 4 learners and 2 apples, clearly no maths, it's just like each learner is going to get a half. That's what we're missing, making maths relevant. Okay? And again, project-based learning. You know, for example, I remember one time there were no teachers at school. Teacher was off sick, and I attended the business studies class in grade 8. And I said, "Oh, guys, what are you learning about? Say the monies, they will use this in the past, they use buttering. And I told them, in the next 10 years, you will all see a bank. They will never believe me.
Mm.
In 10 years' time, you won't be able to see in bank. In other words, how do you prepare learners for something that is not here? But the way you teach,
Mm.
within ATP, Terry, is very, very possible uh, looking at the relevance of mathematics.
Mm.
I'm not sure, maybe a background in terms of your knowledge of a pi. You said to teachers, pi is such a simple thing to explain, but it's a problem because pi is what? You are comparing how long the diameter is,
Mm.
the diameter to the circumference. It's a comparison, it's a ratio. And any kid can say it easily. Then you can say, guys, just measure these tires, whatever, check the diameter. The thing is, the learning should not be theoretical. I strongly somehow lately believe in constructivism. In other words, let the kids do and explain what they were doing, and the maths will come after. But we put maths first. But it's a bit possible in 89, whereas in grade 12, they need to finish the syllabus and so
It's a
on
different
because they're
ball
going to
game. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
the
Time restraint.
relevance,
Yep.
the way you
Yep.
prepare lessons. So it means somehow the teachers needs to be assisted in that regard.
Mm.
So maybe our teachers they need to be retooled, Tapelo. If there is that kind of flexibility in grade 8 and grade 9 with the ATP. I know you are quite right. With the senior classes, that's near to impossible because of the pressure. I mean, our matrics have to sleep at school. You know that whole scenario.
Yeah,
So
they
when
can.
you say, yeah, when you say there's some,
So just
say there's
enlighten us
some,
a little bit about when you say matric or these are grade 12 students have to sleep at school.
Yeah.
This is what do you mean?
oh, they have to sleep at school for extra classes.
If
Oh, for
For
if I can
extra
assist,
classes.
if, if I can assist the Theo,
yeah.
as we speak, the learners did not go to holidays now.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh,
All the
okay.
grades went to holidays. The grade 12, they go to school Sunday to Sunday.
Aye.
That's it.
Or they flunked, or they
Yeah,
not
yeah.
completed. They're
And
No
they're
behind.
breaks.
giving procedures. This is how you answer this question. This question we do it 50 times. 1.1 we do it 50 times. 1.2 we do it 50 times. And they pass well the matric. But when they go to the real university now, where they have to apply the knowledge and talk about talk about revolution and so on, they are lost.
Aye, aye, aye.
That's the realities of Africa. The poor kids don't have a life.
Mm.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Wow.
I'm only out of it almost 2 years now, Tapelo, and I believe it still hasn't changed. I'm talking about matrix now. And I really feel for them because it's an aspect that I do not miss. It is absolutely criminal what the system, how the system is failing the kids.
Mm.
So when you talk to me about there's the thin edge of the wedge here in grade 8 and 9 where something could still be done, then I'm saying to you, boy, how can we come alongside of you guys? And I'm talking about we. Swen is right here, right? Uh, Theo's right here. What we tried to do years ago with HODs and with principals, we are a lot more geared to bringing that stuff now right into the trenches and closer to the ground
Mm.
and saying, how can we be of service here in
Yeah.
helping teachers retool? But Tapelo, helping them to retool in a fun way.
Mm.
Because you show me a teacher that can't wait to get to an afternoon school meeting where stuff is just going to be rehashed.
Mm.
Old stuff that they heard 20 years ago, 30 years ago. And I guess this is where, as an organization, we could actually come in very, I won't say not undercover of night, but very creatively, very creatively,
Stealthily.
Tapelo.
Yeah.
And Theo mentioned the idea of what about raising up some kind of think tank where there can be this exchange of ideas? Because some are crying out for this freshness.
Mm.
Most of them, many of them are dying in the trenches, Tapelo.
Mm.
And even your better teachers are so overloaded because, again, because they're having to sleep at school, because they have to service both juniors and seniors.
Yeah.
Mm.
And so their Sundays and Saturdays also disappear. And I say to you immediately, how can we come alongside of you guys, even in a think tank kind of way, but to make something very, like keep a carrot in front of those teachers, because teachers are getting the hot end of the poker these days. The parents are blaming the kids, the community is blaming the teachers. Parents are blaming the teachers, taking teachers to court, and teachers are bombing out at a rate that is horrific. I think you know my friend. You met Leon Dutoy. Can you remember Leon
Yeah,
Tapelo?
yeah.
Yeah, he was one of the presenters also. I mean, he came from, well, the same school that Terry was
Okay.
at. Yeah,
Same school that I
yeah,
was at.
yeah.
He's at a high school. He's had a nervous breakdown.
Mm.
Wow.
I spoke to him
Wow.
last week. Leon is in such bad shape. He has asked to be transferred to the district, so in order for him to recover.
Mm.
And if you think of how sharp that guy is and how creative he is, he's cracked under the pressure.
Mm.
He's absolutely cracked. So I say to you, how can we become part of a solution to help teachers in your neck of the woods?
That's a good question that he's asking there, Sven.
Yeah.
I mean, what are your sentiments?
Yeah, and
for
I think it's universal, like
Yeah.
what you're saying, because now it's such a pressure on the teachers, so you will lower the standard automatically. How are they going to cope? Because it's pressure on them. Like
Mm.
what do you say? The kids and the parents, they want to have the results, and they push the teachers. You know
Mm.
what I mean? And so there's a change in culture too,
Yeah,
where the teacher had a higher position maybe, and now they're more under attack on both
that's an
sides.
interesting point there as well, I tell you.
So, and as we said before, it was more structural, and you needed the basic subjects.
Mm.
Now we're in 2025, and there's different ways out. So there's more pressure, there's more, like you say, anxiety on all levels, and of course, people are going to crack. So suddenly, the government or whatever say you gotta graduate these kids. It's gotta follow in this system of the curriculum or whatever, and then suddenly the teachers are in between, and they are more, like you say, if they are more free or want to do it in their different way, they are said to no follow the program, and if they take a more liberate and new way, maybe they are get passed down too. They get
Absolutely.
reported. So it's a subject that are relevant
Oh, absolutely.
in all the ways, and the kids are smart too, because they regulate up to their parents. If they don't want to learn, they know the tricks how to push the system. So, and then when the teacher put on their teaching or whatever, then it's the backlash on the other side.
Absolutely.
And
And
but like the government and the progress, they don't change. They just want to see results.
Yeah, then the
And
system
people
doesn't
in
change.
governments and whatever are just in for election and next term.
Yeah.
So, but in the beginning, you have to have the joy, like we were saying. Imagine the joy of what is mathematics. Have fun with it, and if you don't understand the fundamentals, you can't even go to the next level. Like you say, you have to start with the apples or whatever and sit down and discuss. Otherwise, you can never build on
Yeah.
it. You know.
Well, if you've just joined us and you've heard and you're thinking, what the heck are these folks so mad about?
But the same in sport. You can do the same as we say in sports.
Absolutely. There are legitimate reasons
Sports.
why we are deeply concerned.
Yeah.
Let me just, as part of our work here on this particular broadcast, we also inform on events that are coming up, and this is specifically in the agriculture space. And I have on my screen now, as you can see, the Bangkok event that starts next Tuesday. I'm actually going to be there.
Yeah.
And so that is an event that refers to agriculture and AI very, very specifically in this fascinating set of new approaches that are coming that necessitate us thinking about this, because this is just here. And that's from the 6th through to the 8th of May. That's next week. And then in the Netherlands from the 10th to the 12th of June in Amsterdam. Terry's going to be there as well. There's a big conference on horticulture. And of course, if you have a look at that or return to this particular portal and you want us to give you a little bit more information as to when and where, you're more than welcome to get in touch with us. Gentlemen, and I'm back with you there in Bloemfontein and in Johannesburg. It's very, very clear that there are some drastic changes required. But Terry, is it your sense that this is more going to happen from the bottom up? We're going to need to do something. Because you asking Tapelo specifically, what should we do? Is that correct? Not what other people should do.
Definitely, that's my question. Without denying that, I would also love to hear what Tapelo is thinking, what he's already
Mm,
doing. Because I don't think it's a new idea that has just jumped into your head 2 days ago.
Mm,
I think it's been a long, long time coming.
mm,
And I, once you answer us, Tapelo, I want to go back to Theo's point about a ground up kind of movement. You know, we're all waiting for this to happen from the top down, coming from the elite, coming from the intellectuals, and having it come down. But I want to quote Jonathan Jensen very quickly in his analysis of where we are sitting and why we are in such dire straits as a country educationally. And purely saying, why are we putting all our eggs in the matric basket? Why don't we start churning that energy into the basics, right? Into the three R's where the kids come into the system.
mm,
Call it the system because it is a system
mm,
and spend the energy there. Here we are looking at hiking and jacking up and jibboing the system to get our matric passes past 90% so that we don't fall into arrears with the department because they're going to come park at our doorstep and I've been through that just before I retired. It is an absolute nightmare to have the department camp on your doorstep because you have underperformed. You have not hit a 99 to 100% matric pass. So I'm more wanting to hear what you're doing. And then how do we come alongside
Side.
what you're doing, Tapelo? Now, if you're doing something absolutely way out, then we would have the courage to say so. But I don't think so.
No.
I would love us to hear what you're doing.
Mm,
yeah. Look, look, for example, if I can ask you, if you ask somebody to make coffee for you now and boil a kettle for 1 cup, what is usually your experience? Will the kettle be full, half, or cup full? I'm just saying that's a problem with what you are learning, you are not able to implement. You need to save electricity, you need how much it costs, that kind of thing. So the relevance of it, in my case, unfortunate, we are not really under pressure. There is a pressure. But I've been saying lately, I've learned a lot about constructivism, kids doing things themselves. Uh, I always give people an example of Runana Mukwena, the coaches. How do the coaches do it? The rugby coach, the Rasmus, does he do all the things? Or is the player? If we can get the kids to do the work, that's it. If we can be able to get that right. Another challenge, colleagues, is a real-time feedback in terms of what you're teaching. You give the kids a test after a month, and then you'll be doing another topic. You're not able to do with things immediately. So I'm dealing with teachers. I'm supporting teachers. There are those that are trying to follow what I'm saying. I say proper lesson plan. What are you going to teach today? Addition. And out of your 30 minutes, they think it's too little. Terry will also say it's too little. Out of your 30 minutes, use not more than 10 minutes for you to show to teach and whatever. The next 20 minutes, let the kid work and find out where are they struggling, how are they struggling, and deal with it immediately. But the thing is relevance. If I can give you an example of, I was involved, I don't know whether you know the project of United Nations debate. There was
yes.
a program
Yes.
in South.
Mm.
I was part of that at St. Bernard, and you know me as a maths and science teacher. I used to accompany my kids there. We used to win and go up to Robben Island and so on. And those kids, all of them, most of them, they are somewhere in life. They verify that studying international relations and so on and so on. I also used to do Science Expo, ESCOM Science Expo.
Mm.
at grade 8. The fun that you're talking about,
Mm.
trying to solve things. So if we can, I'm just thinking in a South African situation, okay, during, you can do your teaching, but maybe let's have a way of having in a week or in the afternoon some sort of fun maths relevance, applicability of mathematics. Why would you leave a tap dripping in the house? Just put a cup under the tap and check after an hour, will it be full? How much does that cup cost? How much are you going to save
Mm.
your house yourself? In other words, maths is it's life. It's just the language.
Mm.
But the problem is we start with maths instead of starting with life.
Yeah.
I
So if we
Yeah.
can get
so I think that what Tapelo is answering there, Terry,
Mm.
is answering the kind of conditions that he thinks need to be in place for a different kind of scenario. But I think
Right.
he's too modest. There is a project that he's been involved in that's been this online uh,
oh
teaching. So he's forgotten.
Mm.
He's getting old.
He's
but
not as he's older than us. This one.
yeah,
He's
yeah,
older than
but
us.
no, I mentioned it,
That's
yes,
what,
yes, yes.
that's what
but
we want to hear.
yeah,
That's what
but
we want to
Okay,
hear because
just
okay,
talk.
maybe I
Just
can
yeah,
come there quickly.
please, there. Talk
What
about
what
that.
we have okay, sorry. What we have done there, uh, we have piloted two schools in the Free State.
Mm,
There are about 270 learners
mm,
in grade 9. Uh, averagely, every teacher is teaching between 150 and 250 learners in grade 9. So we are working on a system where the assessment are auto-corrected by the NIE, I mean artificial intelligence, give analysis to the teacher and give some sort of recommendation. Right, that's one thing that we are doing now. We are piloting two schools in the in Bloemfontein and one school in Boshoff in Matric.
mm,
Right, here we say we are not really marking for teachers, but we want to say teachers, what is it that the learners could not get right, and how can you remedy that situation?
mm,
Uh, that's a project that I'm talking about. Again, Vela is online teaching, but this one is about coaching now.
mm,
In other words, the learner will tell you maybe the problems with homework and classwork, and there will be an assessment, which is automated as well, that will tell you where the learner is struggling. And we are availing resources that are free. For example, the seabula.com is free in the sense that it's
Tabula.
zero rated. You don't need data, don't need anything. And we also engage parents to say, parents, okay, that phone and data that you bought for your child, make sure this child will be doing mathematics or science on a cell phone as an extra kind of. But unfortunately, it's also procedural. That is another thing that we are doing. But I was saying to Terry now, we focus on 8 and 9. And it's a struggle because everybody, when you say grade 12, you get money. Grade 12, they give you money now.
Absolutely
But
right.
you say,
Yeah.
yeah,
But you say grade 8 and 9 is like, what are you doing with them?
mm.
Yeah.
So then
That,
it does sound there that there is a very practical project underway. It's called Valley, VELLE, and Tapelo. We can. My sense is that we need another 29,000 episodes before we're gonna get this the full picture of what Tapelo's busy with. But Sven, what do you observe? You are acknowledging with such affirmation what you're hearing here from Tapelo. Is we see this around us as well, right?
Yeah, it sounds natural for me because, as I say, that's my experience in school. When I went to school, I like the approach. It's nothing like the fellows say. It's already the teacher go through 5-10 minutes and then or 20, and then you sit and you work on it, and instantly the teacher come and correct and play. I just don't understand what happened along the way because that's how I went to school
Mm,
in any subject, and it's universal.
mm,
And like you say, he's just going back But for me, that was my school
Okay.
in every subject.
Okay.
And I could have gone from not understanding math to understanding math because
Mm.
I
Mm.
went to class, the teacher went through 10 to 20 minutes, then you sit and do examples, and the teacher walked around and he helped you. And if you needed a special class, you can get that too. And
Yeah.
suddenly so there's nothing new, but something happened along the way. And like you say, or Terry say, the solution is already there, but okay, re-engineering and implement step by step. But you can't have, like we hear, the situation of all this pressure. People can't be in school or worrying 24/7. That's not going to work. Then it's no fun nowhere else, you know. But
Absolutely.
like, it's like, okay, it's back to basic. The solution is there, and you kind of have like just implement it. But for me,
Absolutely.
that was school.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to hear
But
how
would you
did we
would
get
but
here?
would you say that even in the Swedish context today,
Yeah.
that's changed as well?
Yeah,
Because
because you
we're
can look in
spending
the news, and as we have met, Theo, we
Yeah, we've
discussed
talked
a
a
lot
bit
of
about this, yeah.
in school, and I see it with my kids and visiting and understanding, and you see on Swedish news, it's full of young kids overly anxiety, stress for school and whatever, and I'm like, for what? Didn't they get into their school or whatever?
Yeah.
What is the? I was like, I don't
Mm.
understand it. There's like
Yeah.
this big trauma. Everybody has this anxiety, and like, how did this happen? It like anxiety and trauma and techniques. You need technique how to study and how to do your test, and then you gotta study to learn, like we
Yeah.
say, not study for the test, but that's universal.
Yeah.
But why anxiety and stress 24/7 all
Yeah.
year round? For what?
Mm.
It's not that advanced. It's mathematics. So somebody got lost along the way here,
Yeah.
you know. And it's not that
Mm.
rocket science. It's not the
No, it's
highest
not. You're right.
engineering degree we're learning here.
Yeah.
You know.
Mm. You know what I like about what Tapelo is saying is Tapelo has become strategically intentional about what he's doing. Because now watch how he's bringing the hacks in. Watch how he's bringing the AI alongside of the learning experience. He's starting with grade 8 and 9, right? I would wish that process would go right back to the beginning where the kids start, but he's just working where he's at. And
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think
yeah.
and I think this is beautiful because this is what I wanted to hear right from the get-go. Now, here's a problem. What's the pillow doing? Before any suggestions from the outside come in,
Yeah.
what's the pillow doing? And you're already doing it. And so any help you ask from the outside can be sort of in a more of a think tank kind of way, how to enhance that process and how to get a movement going on the ground that is bottom up. Because I really think until the cap explodes off of the volcano, the lava is not going to run, right? Lava only runs when the cap is blown off of the volcano. And you have to get the fires going, inside of that volcano, igniting grade 8 and grade 9 mines the way you're doing. You're bringing it alongside, you're doing those analyses, giving them feedback, you're making recommendations. And I can only see that going from strength to strength.
Absolutely.
Not making it a crutch though, right? But making it a tool that can be utilized in a responsible way because we are in absolute crisis in our schooling system on this side of the ocean. And I mean, you watch what's happening politically. I mean, here in the Western Cape, only 76% of the teachers were re-employed this year. Capello, 76% were re-employed. There's a massive court case that is it's just gone to court now. What about the other 24% that have not been deployed? Okay, so the trouble is a lot bigger than what we're talking about. But
It is.
I guess what I'm saying, you do what you can where you are with what you have and rope in the kind of skill sets. Yeah, you're talking to two guys who are sitting on the other side of the world in Sweden. I mean, the one is into horses. I don't know if he runs away on
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, when it's time I run away on the way, then you can't reach me. Yeah, that's a trick.
And I mean, Theo is also in the schooling system.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of it has to, our concerns are similar. It's
Yeah.
for this generation to be equipping them to go somewhere in their lives and to get somewhere with their lives and Tapelo to be even more strategic, intentional with cutting out blocks of time, whether it's after school or during school, where you have those groups out on the field,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
looking at stuff, like you said, going around with a little beaker, a little tin cup,
Yeah.
and
Together in
checking the
groups
taps.
and
Yeah.
empower, have fun with. You have to have the fun
Yeah.
with it, like you
Is
say.
the
Otherwise,
thing that
it's boom. You know.
Yeah.
absolutely.
No,
And when I always say to kids, I even say to teachers, if I can make learning fun, I can teach you anything.
Yeah.
Mm.
But if I can make it fun,
Yeah.
and I think we don't spend the energy there to make it fun because for senior teachers, they are so inundated
Yeah.
with admin and stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
They don't even have time to think laterally, you know, and
No.
that's why my buddy's bombed out.
Yeah.
Mm.
I don't know if Leon's going to recover.
No.
Leon can't walk properly,
Wow.
Tapelo. He can't walk properly
Mm.
because of the trauma that
Mm.
as Sven mentioned, the trauma that our kids have is probably similar to what teachers are
Yeah, and
experiencing.
and these
I know-
teachers want to do good and well, and then they get blocked out. They get sick from the system too, and that you know that's
Yeah.
that's horrible. You know, so you need both to empower it. So this is like the good people, you know, that cares
This is a
get
crazy thing.
affected too. You know, so
Absolutely.
it's important
Absolutely.
to talk and, like you say, just bring it forward from the people already there, like the Tapel. Just listen and affirm and discuss, you know, and bring that out.
Mm.
Like
Very good
we're
points.
doing now. We use all this,
Oh,
bringing it to the family. Like it's an
absolutely.
amazing subject
We-
to talk about.
Yeah. And I have to say that this is one of the things Sven and myself constantly wrestle with is not just theoretical things that are out there. They are very, very close to us. They affect our own lives. In my case, in an educational setup, in terms of what I do, but also in his life in terms of his own children. And so it's a wonderful mix to have. And so to constantly bounce these ideas off each other, I think this is where we are good at the moment, Tapelo. And so as Terry sort of invites you also to spill the beans on what's happening on the ground in order for us to find ways to not come and invent things on your behalf, but to, he uses a very deliberate word, come alongside you. And I think and the more we listen, the more we hear of these incredible things that people are doing. And it's happened. This thing that's happening on this broadcast. We are finding these beautiful stories of people, young people and younger folks like you, Tapelo, who's only 7. Well, the Tapelo's 24, I think now for the 15th time.
Oh, no, please, Theo. I think he's younger than that.
No, yes, that's right. but clearly, Tapelo, thank you for spending
Thank
your
you.
time with us here. This is just the beginning. We would like to have you back, not next week, but the week after that. We should maybe plan
Yeah.
for a revisit. So if we can schedule for that second Wednesday in May for you to come and have another conversation with us, I think, Terry, we should try and find a way to connect again. And there's also, of course, a good number of other contacts that we have in the region, just so we can more specifically and clearly hear what exactly it is that you're doing. But thank you so much for
Thank
your
you.
time today. For those of you who have
Thanks,
listened
Tapelo.
in with us today, we are very, very thankful that you spend your time. If you heard the conversations and you heard that they were rather heated, there are legitimate reasons for that. And I think if you go back and listen to the tape, you will find that
My apologies. Humble
no. I think the passion with which we speak about this indicates the fact that we feel
We
this.
care,
Well,
and it should
definitely,
be. We should show some energy. It's
Yeah.
good.
Absolutely.
It's in a good way. It's a
Yeah.
it's a natural
That's an absolute natural
energy.
Yeah.
It should be celebrated too. It's
Oh,
better to
absolutely.
get it out
Yeah.
in an amazing conversation. It brings energy and it sends it up to
Yeah.
the universe. You know.
Yeah, absolutely. I think in South Africa, we have said, Terry and Tapelo, you would probably agree with me. We have said before that if we look at some of the major shifts in the country, if we look at our past trauma, number one, we've not cried enough. We've not really wept over the extent of the damage. But I think it would be also fair to say we have not been angry enough now about the shifts that are now needed. Maybe some of these lies in our hands, and so it's a legitimate question that Tapelo, you received this evening from Terry, who is your junior He's only 28, I think. But
Oh, gee, thanks. I'm so privileged to hear that.
discounts on Wednesday for all my friends. Tere
Yeah,
Tapelo, once again, thank you so very, very much for joining us. And
oh,
for
it was
those of
great.
you
Looking
tuned,
forward to our next time here with
absolutely.
Same.
Tapelo.
For
Awesome.
those of you who
And
joined
thanks,
in,
Same
man.
here.
Thank you.
Thanks,
thank
man.
you.
Awesome.
Thanks
Thank
for
you very
Good
much.
night to
invite
you.
and
Tapelo, all
interaction.
the best.
Bye bye.
All the best.
Okay, thank you.
Bye for now.
Thank you. For those of you who joined us this evening, thank you very, very much for spending your time with us. We appreciate that. And do make contact with us. This is Learning Academy Worldwide signing off with myself, the Office van Rensburg Lens, and my good friend Sven Isaksson from Stockholm in Sweden. Good night.